How do I look okay there?
Greetings, chess players! My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. Welcome back to the free online Summer Chess Camp June edition. I am really excited about today's guest. If you follow our website, you already know who this guy is. And it's Friday. So we're having a live Francisco Friday today. I am joined by my good friend and longtime chess coach in the same region I work, Northern California Bay Area region, Francisco Anchondo. Welcome to the show, Francisco.
Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? I'm ready to show some very nice tactics here, and these tactics are very powerful, and they have the ability to win your chess games within 8 to 10 moves, and I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it.
Wow, 8 to 10 moves. These are going to be some sharp early variations. Let's go ahead and jump right in, Francisco. What do you got for us? And first of all,
All
you
right,
just let me
I'm
know.
going to start off with this really nice move. Really nice opening that everybody probably knows, but it's a favorite of mine, and it works like crazy. And it's called well, I call it a Scotch Gambit, but the Scotch Gambit on the third move it changes, so I don't know what to name it. But anyway, I'm gonna show it to you, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it.
Great.
So E4, E5, and then D4.
Okay, so we have kind of a center game, maybe a Danish Gambit start. And then would
Okay, I recommend that you play this like a Danish, but it transposes into a Scotch. Knight F3.
wait, it's black's
Uh,
move,
I'll
so
take pawn Knight
black
F3.
takes the pawn, and then we play knight f3. All right.
So know that if he plays C5, which is a really bad move, I don't like it. But anyway, 9 times out of 10, they're going to play Knight to C6
Okay. So
because
yeah,
that's
they're
what
defending.
most
Yeah,
chess teachers teach.
and developing.
Bring your pieces
Mm-hmm.
out. So then after this move, we have a crazy move that, and I know it looks kind of strange. Knight to G5.
Whoa, that looks bizarre, man. Because obviously we're overpowering on d4, and we only have one piece developed, and we're gonna move it a second time. I can't wait to see where this is going. I've never seen this
This is
move
kind of
before.
I don't recommend it when you're playing in a chess tournament, but I recommend that you when you play on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
your blitz game, or you're playing some, a short time frame or whatever, you can use this line, and 9 times out of 10, people will play H6.
Ah, yeah. So they don't like this knight hanging out near their king, right? It's bad for their health, so they play h6.
So they're telling the knight, "Come on, scoot back. We don't want you here."
Go
And
away. Yeah.
it says, "Okay, well, let me go ahead and frighten your world here." So knight takes f7, kind of a weird line.
Wow. So that's the third time we've moved the same piece in the opening. Something that generally, when you're learning chess, you're told not to do. But it's forking Black's queen and rook, right? So they pretty much have to take it, right, Francisco?
They're more likely going to take it. So
Yep. Otherwise, yeah.
king takes, and then you don't check with the queen. You check with the bishop at c4.
Okay. Now, so they no longer have an f7 pawn, and they moved the pawn forward on h6. And this is kind of key because it really weakens the h5 e8 diagonal, and I have a feeling we're going to take advantage of that. But first we play bishop c4 check. And what do they normally do here, Francisco?
More likely, the king is kind of scared. He says, I'm going to go back in my little hole here, my cubby hole, and they're going to go back to king to e8.
Okay. And now again, that see there's two ways of stopping the what I call the zigzag attack. I call it the zigzag when the queen comes out and checks the king. And the zigzag can occur if the h pawn's been advanced and the f pawn's been moved, right? If you can get your opponent to move both the f and h pawns, then you got to look for a zigzag. So I'm going to take a guess here, Francisco. Is the next move queen h5?
That is correct.
Cool.
King, queen h5
I love
check.
a good zigzag. All right. And then what do you think black does here?
Well, of course, he can play g6, but it's not going to
Doesn't
help
do
him
anything,
anyway.
right? So he plays king e7.
So he'll move his king up to e7 to get out of the
Uh-huh.
check. And now, from this point on forward, black is going to get mated very shortly.
And that's going to start with maybe queen f7.
Queen f7, correct.
Yep, the queen comes and says, hello. Close
Yes,
contact. And
good morning, king. How are you doing?
king goes to d6. And then we've got a couple choices here, right? Queen d5, but then the king would go back to e7. But we have this new bishop that we haven't used, and the king's on a dark square. So maybe develop with a threat, bishop f4 check.
Actually, that is incorrect.
Okay, what do you recommend?
The move here after king to d6 is e5 check.
e5 check. Very nice. I forgot, you can't forget that your pawns are indeed weapons, right? And especially, again, you don't get to use them early against your opponent's king very often, but they're a good, effective weapon. And what do you normally see here? Knight takes, probably, forking the queen and bishop?
9 times out of 10, they'll knight takes e5, and then you have the move queen to d5 check.
Ah, now queen d5, okay. And that forces king e7.
e7. And then after that, then queen captures knight, checkmate.
Wow, 11 moves. You know what, Francis? I'm going to play through these 11 moves just so our viewing audience can see, again, the nice opening trap that's at play here. So everything's normal through move 3. Then the knight, we move the same piece twice. And the gut instinct of black is to say, go away, Mr. Knight. And that's what we're hoping for. We sack the knight, bishop c4, very, very trappy opening, zigzag attack. And then, of course, the part that I really enjoy is this 9e5 pawn move. What a pretty move that was. I had forgotten that I could use that pawn as a weapon. And we checkmate with just 2 pieces by move 11, with just 2 pieces. Wow, that was fantastic, Francisco. Let me, I'm going to get a fresh chessboard for us to look at. And let me check my window screens, make sure everything still looks good. Good. All right, Francisco, we're ready for another.
No, I want to go through a different variation. After e5 check, the king could capture
Oh, okay. I
until the
guess I
knight
shouldn't have
the
erased the
king,
board.
right?
Hang on. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight g5, h6, knight takes f7, king takes f7, bishop to c4, check. King goes back to e8, zigzag attack, queen h5, check. King e7, queen f7, king d6. Oh, I messed it up. I did. You know what I forgot? I was doing that's terrible, Chris. You need to drink your coffee, man. Hang on, Francisco. Ha! I know what I did wrong. I forgot to play move 2 d4. All right, wake up, drink your coffee, Chris. All right, e4, e5, d4, ex d4. That's critical. Knight f3, knight c6, and then you played knight g5, right? h6, knight takes, king takes, bishop c4 check, king goes to e8, queen goes to h5, king e7, queen f7, king d6, e5. There's that really nice e5 move, and then they momentarily fork our queen and bishop, and that is fine. We say check, they're forced back to e7, then queen takes e5. All right, so you were going to say at, there's another variation in here you wanted to look at real fast.
Instead of the knight capturing, the king captures the
Ah,
pawn.
okay, let's see what happens. So king takes pawn.
And king takes
Mm-hmm.
e5, and then we play bishop to f4 check.
Bishop f4 check right there. And then the king is forced to go to e4.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Then f3.
Another attack the king with the pawn. Attacking the king with the pawn. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. All right, so Francisco, do you want me to erase the board, or did you want to show another variation in this, or
I want to show the last one in case the king wants to run away.
okay?
They want to run away to the queen side, then you always have that queen to d5 check,
So,
king to
all right,
c6.
so hang on. So after bishop c4 check, you still want the king to go to e8?
Oh yeah, the king goes to e8, then queen to
No, no,
f7,
queen h5 check, and then king goes to e7, queen f7 check, king d6.
e5 check.
Ah, and then you're saying right here, king c5 is what you want to show us, right, Francisco?
Right.
Okay.
Queen king c5, then queen d5, then the king runs over, and then mate next moves at b5.
Yeah. Regardless of which way they go, huh? They could go to b6 or b4, and either way, queen b5 is checkmate. Very pretty. Very pretty stuff. And it's amazing that you get their king all the way to the b4 square on move 11. It's amazing. What do you got next for us, Francisco?
I got this other line that it's called the Rousseau
Okay,
Gambit.
so I'm going to make a new board. Hang on one second. And just like that, let me check my windows, make sure it's appearing good. Yep, we got ourselves a new board. Let's look at that gambit you've mentioned.
Okay, it's e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and f5.
Okay. Now, do you want to show this from Black's perspective, Francisco?
Correct, the
Okay, I'm
black
going to go ahead
perspective.
and flip the board and play through the moves again real fast. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So white's starting with the Italian, and they're expecting knight f6 or bishop c5. But Francisco is showing us what to surprise them with. Pawn f5, the Rousseau Gambit, or Rousseau. Yeah, my French is not very good. All right, so what do we got?
Okay, now if pawn takes e takes f5 is and white is in trouble after doing that because black will play e4,
Ooh, interesting.
harassing the
See,
knight.
I was immediately thinking about pawn d5, taking full control of the center, but e4, threatening that knight. Okay. And then what happens if white plays queen e2? What are we doing?
Then the queen would go to e7.
Okay, so queen e2. See, that pins the pawn. That would be my gut instinct there. It's like let's not move our knight towards the target. Let's pin the pawn. And then Francisco says, well, just unpin the pawn with queen e7. And now they've got a problem with their knight, right, Francisco?
Correct. And then the knight, the only move he has is going back to g1.
Are you serious? The only move? You're right. The only move that knight has is running all the way back to g1. Complete loss of time.
And then, of course, you know, you don't want the queen checking you at h5.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring your knight out at
Oh,
f6.
this is a very good point. With white's bishop on c4 and their pawn on f5,
Correct.
if that queen tries to come out and threaten you with the zigzag attack, it could be very dangerous. So knight f6 stops that fun and develops another attacking piece for us. And then what do you normally see from white here?
Well, usually I'm going to show two different lines
Okay.
here. And after this, the white would play d3.
Ooh, interesting. So creating tension on the center pawn.
And we don't have to worry about this because then the knight would just plop into d4, harassing the queen.
Yeah, it does. And the queen's got to be very careful, right? Because if it,
So the queen's got to go back and cover the
yeah,
c2
because
square.
if it goes forward, then we can fork them.
Correct. So the queen goes to d1,
Uh-oh. Discovered check time?
and then we just take the pawn at c2 check anyway.
What? You just take the pawn and say check anyways? I was looking at this e4 pawn thinking probably discovered. I like where this is going, Francisco. Knight takes c2 check.
Then of course, if he moves a king, he loses a rook. So queen captures c2, and then d e takes d3 check, and then the queen's lost.
It's a queen trap. It's a queen trap line. You get a free queen in this line. Wow, that is powerful stuff. Excellent. Did you want to look at another variation in here, Francisco?
Yes, this is another variation. Let's go back to move 6. Actually, move 6 is knight to c3.
Oh wait,
And
Hang on. So let me call out the moves to make sure we're on the same page. So it's e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, Italian game, bishop c4, f5, the Rousseau Gambit, and then ex f5, and then e4, and then do you still want to play queen e2 here, Francisco?
e4, and then yeah, he plays knight to
Ah,
g1.
knight g1 right away this time. Okay. So we looked at what happens if the queen steps up to e2, and now we're seeing what happens if the knight runs away. And then
Knight
we
f6, of course, you cover the
yeah, you got to
h5
cover
square.
that zigzag attack.
Knight c3. And then, of course, d5. Attacking the bishop at
Yeah,
c4. Then, of course, a bishop plays to b5.
pinning the knight on c6.
And then we play d4, attacking the knight.
Ah, we don't collect the pawn back. We attack.
And then, of course, knight to e2.
And look at that mobile pawn center we have here.
Knight at c to e2, of course, not the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
knight, but. And then queen to d5, centralizing the queen, the center of the board. Then bishop captures, knight at c6, check. B takes c6. d3.
And wait. B3. B is in bird.
No, no, D is in
Oh, D
dog.
is in dog. Okay, D3. Creating a line for their bishop, attacking the pawn
Correct.
center.
And now bishop to b4, check.
Okay.
And bishop to d2.
Seems.
And we have this powerful double exclam move, e3.
Ooh, that is a double exclaim. Bam! All right, so the bishop on D2 is pinned to the king. So it can't ever do anything about this pawn on E3. So what do you normally see from white here?
And either way, if the bishop captures the bishop at b4, or he could take f
Mm-hmm.
takes, and then you take with a pawn again. The bishop cannot take the pawn because he's uh, he's pinned with a bishop, right? So either way, bishop takes
Mm-hmm.
b4, and then you have queen captures g2, threatening mate.
Threatening mate with queen takes F2. Checkmate.
No, no, g2, g2.
And then what does white do?
No, white has to resign now. I mean, he's getting mated or losing everything.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because you're also threatening the rook, right? And
Bringing the king.
yeah. And now what? Let's look at the other line real fast in here. So when we play pawn e3, if white had played 12 fx e5, then we, as you said, we just still play dx e3, and that bishop can't do anything. So it still would take on b4, bishop takes b4, and you still get queen takes g2. And so either way, it plays very similarly, and it's completely winning for black. You want to look at another variation in the Rousseau Gambit?
No, no, no. I'm gonna go to a different line here.
Okay, let me Let me bring up a new chessboard. Let's clear it off.
Do you have a board so I could see it, or doesn't matter? I mean, I could set up my own.
Yeah, you might want to set up your own.
Actually, no, I can't do it. I don't have the thing software
Oh,
for it.
okay. What do you want to?
No, so I could see it. So as you, it does. I mean, I kind of remember it by memory.
Okay. Yeah, you're an attacking maestro, as I like to say. Um, Francisco can play these lines blindfolded. After being spun around 3 times, I mean, you have a better chance of beating him at pin the tail on the donkey blindfolded than you do beating him at chess. All right, so what do you got next?
Okay, I'm gonna go to the Sicilian.
Okay. And do you want this from White's perspective?
Yes, the white
Okay, so
perspective.
e4, c5,
Knight f3,
knight f3,
knight c6,
knight c6.
and I usually play b4, which is a deferred queen gambit.
Okay. So in the
I call
Sicilian
this
in the
the
Sicilian black,
Zimbeck
yeah.
variation.
What's that?
I call this the Zimbeck variation.
Okay. Named after Dave Zimbeck?
Correct.
Yeah.
And of course, we there's a couple of ways they can take it. The knight can take it, or the pawn can take it, and either way, it winds up in the same position.
Okay. Well, which one do you want to look at?
C takes b4,
Okay, pawn takes.
and then we play d4.
Grabbing control of the center.
Yeah. And of course, en passant.
There's no en passant.
Actually, I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
b takes c4, then d4.
Wait. So let me call out the moves for you, Francisco. We got e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, b4, cx, b4, pawn to d4. And now they're going to play pawn d5, Francisco?
No, they're going to take en passant.
There's no en passant here.
Well, they took a
It's
b4, and then you play.
it's their move.
Um.
It's oh,
Oh yeah, d5. I'm sorry, you're right. d5.
okay. And then
Then e captures d5,
ex d5.
and then queen takes d5,
Uh-huh.
and c4.
Here we go. So c4.
And then b captures c3 en passant. Knight captures c3. Queen to a5, pinning the knight. And we play rook to b1.
What? Rook to b1? We're forgetting about Mr. Knight and the check?
Yeah, and then it's too tempting.
They're gonna take that knight 100% of the time, right, Francisco?
More likely, yes, unless the person's a master or something. But they'll take the knight. He chops off the
Sure.
knight,
Queen takes c3 check.
and then bishop to d2, and then the only square available for the queen is queen to a3, and then we have d5.
And now we're gonna. The queen is had to go hide on a3, and now we're threatening their knight.
So the knight scampers back to b8, back to its shallop,
Uh-huh.
and we play a real sneaky move, queen to c2.
Threatening check, mate.
And of course, bishop to d7. And after bishop to b5.
All right, so they stop checkmate, and then we play bishop b5, pinning their bishop. So now we have renewed the threat of queen to c8 checkmate.
Correct. And basically,
What can they do here?
well, he's trying to stop the mate threat at c8 with the queen.
Yeah. So what do you what would you see from black here to stop that?
Well, 9 times out of 10, they'll play king to d8.
Ah, of course. Of course. Why didn't I see that? Okay.
But that succumbs to bishop to b4, and black loses his queen.
We just trapped their queen? Let me, holy moly, Francisco. Let me look. This is explosive. This is explosive. You guys are seeing an exclusive line here. All right, so e4, c5. We got our normal Sicilian, knight f3, knight c6. And then if you play b4 like a wing gambit, you're threatening their Sicilian pawn that they want to use to control d4, but unfortunately, there it goes, cx b4. Then, because they aren't controlling d4, we just occupy it. And then d5 attacking our center, makes sense. Ex d5, queen takes d5, and here comes the fun part. Pawn to c4, and your opponent's going to be thinking that you don't know en passant. So they'll take with en passant. You'll take, threaten the queen, develop with the threat. Queen a5, pinning the knight. And then rook b1. Go ahead, take my knight. Just do it. And they will. Queen takes c3. Bishop to d2. Well, the queen only has one safe square here. Queen a3. Pawn to d5, threatening the knight. We've picked on the queen, now we're threatening the knight. Knight runs away, and here comes that move Francisco called sneaky. Queen c2, threatening mate. Threatening queen takes c8, mate. So it's easy enough to guard that with bishop d7. But then bishop b5 pins the bishop to the king. So queen to c8 would still be checkmate. So the king moves over to stop checkmate. And then the bishop says, hey, remember about that queen? Let's turn our attention back to that queen on a3. It's going to leave the board. Wow. That is awesome stuff, Francisco. Did you want to look at another variation in this line?
Yes, I'm gonna show you a couple of lines that I played. It's about 5 years ago, or no, actually 6 years ago in Mexico.
Okay.
At a tournament, and I tried this, and it's the same variation, but it's a little variant from it.
All right. So I'll call out the moves, and you tell me when to make a switch. E4, c5, 2 knight f3, knight c6, b4, cx
b4,
d4.
Actually, no, in my game it was knight takes b4.
Oh, okay. So we're going to look at the knight takes. And Francisco, you had told us that it was going to be the same, and I'm curious about this, so it's good. Knight takes b4. Okay.
Yeah, and then for c3.
c3.
And knight goes back to c6. Then d4.
Okay.
And he plays d5. Of course, e captures d5, and then queen takes d5. And then, of course, c4. And notice that it's the same position, but there's an extra move in there because of the knight. Kind of weird, but it's the same thing. Then, of course, queen to a5.
Uh-oh. Nope, I got a problem on my board. Hang on. Something went wrong. e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn to b4, cx b4, and then we play d4. Do they play d5 right away here, Francisco?
Correct.
Okay. And then we played ex d5. They played queen takes d5. We played. Oh wait. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm sorry. Cx b4. Knight takes b4. c3, scaring the knight back to c6. d4. Now, do they take our pawn cx d4 here? After we play d4, before they play d5?
No, the knight. Remember, the knight wound up going back after c3.
Yeah. So the knight, pawn c3, knight c6, d4. And what does black play?
d5.
Right away, they don't take. Okay, d5 it is.
Then e takes d5.
Uh-huh. And queen takes d5.
And then now you play c4.
And they still have a pawn on c5, Francisco.
On c5.
Uh-huh.
No, they took after. Oh, I'm sorry. After d4, cd.
Yep, that's what I thought. That's yeah. So okay, so after d4, cx, and then we play cx, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then they play d5.
That is correct.
And then we played ex d5. They played queen takes d5.
And then now c4.
But we don't have a pawn on c4. What have I done wrong now? Oh, I know what I did. I know what I did. This time it is completely... cx d4. And then they played cx d4. We played cx d4. Then they played d5. Then we played ex d5. And they played queen takes d5. And now we must play knight c3 because we do not have a pawn on c4, Francisca.
Correct. Knight c3.
Uh-huh. And then they play queen a5, right?
Correct. Queen a5.
Okay, I think we're good now. And then you're going to play rook b1 maybe?
Rook b1.
Here's that surprising move.
And in my game, it went, of course, queen captures c3, check, and then bishop d2, queen to a3, and not queen to c2, which is more stronger than the other line. But back then I played bishop to b5 check.
Well, you got to play pawn to d5 first, right? Attacking their knight.
Yeah, of course. D5, knight ba, and then bishop to b5.
And you didn't play that sneaky move. Okay, you played bishop.
No. I learned it later on.
Okay, so you played bishop b5 check.
And Is that right? No, no, no. I'm sorry. I played d5.
Mm-hmm.
I moved out, and then bishop checks. I'm trying to remember if I.
Did they play knight d7 or bishop d7 to block the check? It seems like when you're checking the king with your bishop on b5, they're going to block with either bishop to d7 or knight to d7, right?
Correct.
So which one?
I'm trying to remember. Ooh, was it check?
Maybe bishop d7 and then you play queen c2?
No, I think I did play queen to c2. Bishop d7, queen to c2.
Uh-huh. And now you're threatening checkmate, so they got to play king d8, right?
No, the knight did not move. And in my variation, the knight did not move. I played d5. No, it was first queen to c. I believe it was queen to c2 first.
Um, so you are suggesting that after, hang on. After pawn d5, you're saying that the knight on c6 does not move?
Yeah, because I wind up there's a check in there with a bishop to b5 check.
Yeah. But the knight's in the way, so the knight's got to move. It's under attack, right?
Okay, so the knight moves and then bishop b5, and I believe
Knight to d7. We just looked at bishop d7 in queen c2. Did he play knight d7?
no, no, it's not knight d7.
King d8, bishop d7.
No, I'm gonna have to forget that. I'll have to do it another time
Okay,
because
no
I'm
worries. Let
confused.
me
I got
let me
confused with
review
this
what
line.
we've looked at with the audience real fast. So we're looking at this magnificent line against the Sicilian. Francisco's reciting these from memory without view of a chessboard, by the way, as he is an attacking maestro. All right, so we get d4, and then they strike at our center. We attack. They get the centralized queen. Then we play this surprising pawn c4. They can just take en passant. We take back with our knight, threatening their queen. Their queen pins our knight to our king, and this is where there's this interesting rook b1, this tabia kind of move, rook b1. And then if black takes, queen takes c3 check, bishop d2. And now the queen only has one safe square to go to, which is a3. And then we harass the knight. The knight goes back. Sneaky move, queen c2. Bishop d7.
Oh no, no, no. You know what it was? It's I remember now. I'm looking at it now. So after queen to a3, I played d5. The knight does not move.
Okay.
The bishop threatens my rook at b1. Bishop
Ah.
to f5,
Bishop f5. Let me
attacking.
promote this variation so I make sure. Yeah. Okay. And if I promote it one more time, am I going to be in trouble? Is it going to... We'll find out. No, we're good. Okay, so bishop f5, threatening the rook on b1.
And then I just ignore it and I just capture the knight. D takes
You
c6.
just ignore the threat of your rook? Okay. And then does he take your rook?
Yeah, bishop captures the rook b1. And now c captures b7, attacking the rook. And this is a fantastic line, you know. Rook to b8, of course, you know, you got to move
Save
the
the
rook.
rook, yeah. You can't lose a rook and get allow a queen.
And notice that if the rook goes to d8, then you have the bishop to b5 check, rook to d7, and then you queen checkmate.
Okay, let me show that.
Or
Well, we'll go back to that in a moment. All right, so your opponent played rook b8. And what did you play?
he played rook b8, then of course bishop to b5 check.
Wow. And then the king has to move into the d file, right? Uh-oh.
Correct. And now
King goes to
now
d8.
tell the audience what would be White's next move.
What's White's best move here? Let's see if anybody throws out a guess. A suggestion for White. This one's not too hard to spot, but it's really pretty. And bishop a5 is suggested, and of course, bishop a5 is correct. Bishop a5.
Bishop a5, double check and mate.
Double check and mate. Now let me look at this line again. This was a beautiful game. Played once upon a time at a tournament in Mexico. Whoops. And then let's see. He played knight takes b4. Or did yeah, he took with his did he take with the knight or the pawn in this? No, he played cx b4. He took with the pawn, right, Francisco? No, he took with the knight. That's right. And then c3, knight c6, d4, take, d5, ex d5, queen takes d5, knight c3 threatening the queen, queen a5 threatening the knight, rook b1, queen takes c3, check, bishop d2, queen a3, pawn to d5, and here your opponent ignored the threat, played bishop f5, and you played dxc6. Very, very powerful stuff. Bishop takes b1, c takes b7, threatening to win a rook and promote to a queen. Oh, and then they played rook b8, but we were going to look at if rook goes to d8. And you said if rook goes to d8, you still have bishop b5 check, and then they have to block with rook d7. And you would have promoted your pawn. And you can even just promote it.
A rook or a queen.
Yeah, you could even promote it to a rook, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's also a rook or a
Yeah.
queen. It doesn't matter.
You can under promote it to a rook if you like, and get the checkmate because the bishop is pinned. So let me review all the lines you showed us, because this was a complicated tabia that you've showed us. So let's start with the original one, which is if your opponent plays the Sicilian against you, everything starts normal until you play b4. They take, which opens up the possibility for d4. They strike back at the center with d5. You take, they take, their queen is centralized. They're feeling pretty good maybe about how their position's going, and then you play c4. They can take en passant. You take, threaten, develop a knight, threaten their queen. Queen goes to a5, threatening, pinning the knight to the king. Rook b1. The knight is just free. It's just free. So they take bishop d2. And now the queen must go to a3. There's no other safe move for the queen. It is the only move for black's queen. Queen goes to a3. And this is kind of interesting. So you've chased the queen, but you turn your attention to the knight. d5, knight moves back to b8. Then you got the sneaky queen c2 threatening checkmate. Threatening to say checkmate down here. Bishop goes to d7, bishop b5, re-threatening checkmate because of the pin. King goes to d8, stopping checkmate, and then bishop b4, they stop checkmate, but you checkmate their queen. Now let me look at the game that Francisco just showed. And so that's the trap, that's the tabia, and now the game that Francisco played goes with the knight takes b4 line instead of the pawn. But it ends up being the same, and you're going to see the little magic here. Pawn c3, knight goes back to c6, d4, take, and then pawn to d5, ex, queen takes, knight c3, and then look, do you recognize this position? It's the same. It's a bizarre transposition. It's very bizarre, but it's the same position. Queen a5, pinning the knight to the king. Rook to b1, saying, go ahead, take my knight with check, because then I block and your queen has to go to a3. It's the only safe square. Okay, so the queen got pushed to a3. Now we harass the knight. And in the game in Mexico, Francisco's opponent did not move his knight. He said, you know what? A knight's worth 3. Your rook is worth 5. So I'm going to develop with a threat against your rook. Francisco said, fine, I'll take the knight, take my rook. And he does. I'll take your pawn. Are you going to let me take your rook and promote to a queen? Of course not. Rook b8. And then Francisco played bishop b5 check. That's trouble. The king has to go to d8, and when it does, it enters the domain of white's queen. King goes to d8, and then double check. Checkmate. Bishop a5. Francisco, that was a serious knowledge drop you gave us today. We learned three trappy openings. There was literally something in this lesson for everybody. This last one being the highest level. But honestly, yeah, there was something in this for everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, Francisco.
I wanted to add that on the last game that I played, this was a team tournament in Tijuana, Mexico, about 6 or 7 years ago, if I remember correctly. And I had played the same line in an earlier round just with somebody else, and this guy showed him the line to his friend, and then the guy wanted to get, change the line on me, and then he played bishop to f5, attacking my rook at b1, and that's how this game wound up like this.
Yeah. Well, that, it's just a beautiful victory. A crowning achievement for a chess player to win a game like this. And you do it far too often, Francisco. In fact, every Friday on the Daily Chess Musings blog, we share a game from this man right here, Attacking Maestro, the living legend, Francisco Anchondo. Francisco.
Anybody wanting to have any chess lessons, they can contact me at acvf1211@gmail.com.
Okay, ACVF. Let me write this down because we can add your email to the recap. ACV.
Alpha Charlie Victor Foxtrot. 1211
1211
at gmail.com.
At Gmail.
My sore throat.
Yeah. All right. So ACVF1211. So ACVF1211 at gmail.com. Easy enough. And what's the V? Is that for your middle initial, Francisco?
No, I put it for victory.
Ah, okay. Because I see, you know, the F and the Anchondo. Yeah, so victory. Got it. ACVF1211 at gmail.com. And Francisco regularly teaches. His domain is the East Bay, the Hayward area. Very famous. Lots of strong players. Lots of strong masters developed back in the day at the Hayward Chess Club. And Francisco was club champion. Club champion with his...
I wanted to mention that I did teach a kid back in the day by the name of Hans.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to remember
Neiman. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He's in the top 100 grandmasters in the world right now.
Yeah. Good old Hans.
And I taught him. And there was a couple other.
Oh yeah. We don't need to throw out names for privacy issues. But let me tell everybody, Francisco's legit. He taught several masters, kids that became chess masters. They're very well known, high level masters, very well known names, household names. We just got to be careful about tossing names around on the air. All right, Francisco, I'm going to let you go, and these guys have a round to go play a tournament. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll do this again. All right.
Okay, anytime. So they want to become a tactical master. You got my information, and I want to wish you all the best, and go and checkmate him.
All right.
Go checkmate everything.
Sounds good. All right. And everybody in the camp, it is time for you to go to chess.com, get in your daily tournament. Bye.
Bye-bye.